We started out working off of my partner Steven's kitchen table, which is still bowed today from all the computer equipment. So we started looking for a place. We had more time than money in the early days, so we bought a couple £1,000 worth of plaster, began plastering the walls, and did paints and washers on everything to try and make it a more creative environment. Having my own business to me means that we get to make the crucial decisions that define our path. Our first level of success was show opens, bumpers, interstitials, that sort of thing that used animation and design. We always knew that if we wanted to get into more character animation and that sort of thing, we would have to step up to the next level. Maya is at a point now where it's inexpensive enough that we could write off the cost and still make a little bit of money on the project, as well as learning to do character work. It was really the only choice out there. David has actually been working with Maya for about 3 weeks. Every time I walk by him and look at the screen, I'm amazed. I say, wow, that's cool, and his response is, that's easy.
Going from a desktop package on the Mac to working with Maya, I'm able to get a lot more detail in a shorter amount of time. The interaction is super fast, especially with a shaded view, because you can just see exactly what's happening instead of having to like wait for redraw. It's instantaneous. I modeled this head, and then this morning I spent about 20 minutes animating it to a soundtrack.
Boy, what in the hell's the matter with you? Boy, what?
I couldn't do this in anything else that I've worked in.
In my head, I see John Wayne.
We'll get some reference footage of Cowboys. We were lucky enough to get an opportunity to bid on a job that called for character work.
You know, just like a regular torso, back and forth, the hips turn.
Even more, you can exaggerate that even more. The concept for the craft spot was to create characters out of the salad dressing bottles. The ranch dressing would become a cowboy, the Italian dressing would become an Italian, and the Thousand Island would become a Hawaiian Island type character. We cleaned up the hair some. It's not as spiny as it was in the original version, and it feels a lot more like hair. The female characters would be all the vegetables, who are very bored until they see these wonderful 3 men walking up to them. They become very excited. The Italian is trying to pick up on the tomato, the carrot is dancing with the island guy, and the cowboy is kind of tipping his hat to the onion.
What in the hell?
With Maya, we now feel like we can do any effect out there. Whether it's a character or a particle effect that we couldn't have done before, anything is now possible.
What's up, girlfriend?
What's up, boyfriend?
I need to make it more dynamic than that too. So it's like whatever you can bring to the table. And what we're gonna attempt to do is try to like go through the whole motions of a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, but tell it through a pinball. When we get into the pinball machine, I don't want it to feel just like there's a limited scope to it. It's expanded so big that it's like you're in the middle of this gigantic metropolis.
Right.
The whole world, it's a pinball world.
This video is with Blackstreet and Janet Jackson. The entire video takes place inside of a pinball machine where Janet Jackson's chasing the main character, Teddy. She's phoning him, paging him, and chasing him all over, kind of like, you know, stalking him almost.
This is probably one of the most abstract pieces of the storyboard. I want it to look like basically the ball gets trapped and it's like hitting each other like crazy. It's like trapped in its own chamber.
We had a storyboard concept that had illustrations done by a storyboard artist that had a whole direction for the entire video. Initially, we started working with segments of the storyboard and creating just animatics.
But as he started seeing the capabilities of Maya, Joseph, who's the director, started thinking up different ideas and asking us to be creative on our own. He'd basically come to us and go, well, what do you think would be really cool?
At some point we want the motorcycle chasing us to happen in the city. Definitely know that I don't want the type of bike where it's just like a dirt BMX bike or whatever, but something like very futuristic.
I really like Maya because when I start working on something, I don't really have to think of a specific process or a direction or pipeline that I have to go through. I just start thinking of the ideas. I like the free-form way of being able to work and create things just on the fly.
We're looking at a top view now of a pinball scene. By using a combination of active and passive rigid bodies, Maya is able to create quite a dynamic simulation without using any keyframes. Just give the pinball an initial speed and direction and let Maya do the rest. For me, the best part of Maya is how open-ended it is. There's a scene in the video where the player knocks the ball towards Teddy. In order to make that image of Teddy explode, I created a particle painting of him on an image plane, and then when that exploded, particles appear and react to the forces that are in the scene.
The director thought of those spinners that you have in the pinball game, and he thought, what if those spinners came to life? And so I added inverse animation to it. I'm able to grab a handle and move it like an arm or a leg. It's a matter of just like pulling on the different parts. In order to be able to work in that fast-paced production, we have to have tools that are very interactive.
Anything's possible, everything's animatable, and anything that you can imagine you can accomplish with Maya.
The CBS Kids Show presents Son of Houdini.
The CBS Kids Show was a branding campaign to brand CBS identity into Saturday morning. It was modeled, animated, and rendered in Maya.
Mommy's the word.
The curtain had to be very easy to just animate opening, closing. We didn't want to have to set keyframes every 5 seconds. On this particular contraption with the curtain opener, one node drives this whole mechanical structure that opens these curtains with the soft bodies. I can go back and forth between wireframe, I can go like simple shaded, I can go texture map and see how the lighting is. I don't have to wait for a render, and it makes my work easier, faster. It's really fun to use.
We'll be right back.
The CBS Kids Show. Get in the app.
The main character, Jiggles, is a very interesting looking character. To model in a traditional sense would have been difficult and more time consuming. I was able to sit with the artist and basically interact with Jiggles, the character, using Artisan.
You know, the double chin there just below the lip, and see if we could pull that out.
It was very fast and intuitive, and that's what I really loved. I mean, I was able to get the results sitting there with the artist instead of having to come back a half a day later and take a look. I was able to say, okay, great, move it, pull it, we're done.
I used Maya to lip sync Bernie J.
We'll be right back.
Artisan really helped simplify modeling all the different shapes. We started with the neutral pose, and then I was able very quickly to tweak the neutral pose into various phoneme shapes. Then what we do is put those in the blend shape editor. That used to take days, if not weeks, to do on traditional old 3D packages. The audio timeline gives you a visual representation of where certain sounds come in. So you can actually keyframe to that sound.
Houdini. The CBS Kids Show presents Son of Houdini.
To get all the artists together in one package and not have to feel that I have to go to this guy for this and this guy for that. People could work on different scenes together, stuff could be traded throughout the department, and keep it in a real comprehensive workflow.
Son of Houdini.
That's the beautiful thing about Maya, is that it's all there in one.
Noman was started to be a professional training center for 3D graphics and animation, to train artists who are already in the industry and need further skills, but also to train people who want to get into the industry and get the skills that they really need to succeed.
I would love to be able to work on feature films.
I would like to do commercials.
I want to learn the tools that are being used in the industry.
I don't have my blend shape individual targets that I went and made.
Alex Alvarez started Noman. He'd been working in the industry for several years with artists on site, and they would ask him, Alex, where can I go to learn this? And he investigated the different training facilities and found that the classes were only entry level, no in-depth or expert training. So he began to dream about the perfect training center.
I came out to LA and talked to studios, and they all said Maya is really what we're starting to convert to, and we don't have time to train people anymore. If we're going to hire an animator, we want to be able to hire them and have them know the program.
Today's lesson, we're going to go through motion path animation.
The way that they teach here is they really sit down and help you.
First draw your curve and then go into the path key.
All of our instructors at Noman have experience working in the industry, and they also have teaching experience. So they understand the technology they're teaching, and they understand how the tools will be used.
I could pick up the manuals and read them and go through the tutorials, but I'd much rather get the experience that somebody already has from working in the industry.
On one hand, we're very relaxed. But we're very serious about what we do. That there's a real energy here.
Who the hell are you?
We're about a half hour outside of downtown Chicago. We're in an industrial park. There are 5 other media companies that we share space with, which helps keep the overhead down. We all feed off of each other for business.
I got the last piece.
This is AGA Digital Studios. It's my little space where everything happens. We do work for all kinds of clients, broadcast, corporate, industrial, and whatever else we can think of. We're working with 3D Studio Max and Lightwave. Now to get to that next level, we need more power, we need more character tools, and Maya offers all of that. The new capabilities we have now with Maya brings us up to an entirely new level. Having Maya Fusion together with Maya is just wonderful for a small company like ours because we can model, we can render, we can animate, and we can composite all within the same program. Getting into compositing, you need to consider a few things like resolution independence and the ability to add third-party plugins. This is for Disney's Festival of Lights, which they do each year here in Chicago. Right here you're seeing an animated background that requires 3 layers of video, some still images, as well as 3D elements, all animated and put together. We had 3 layers of video, all of varying transparencies. We had 3D elements all blended in. That needed to be a background with the logo animated on top. We can put together all the different elements in varying styles and give the client different options for their final project. I don't need to take extra time to render different shadows and different layers and make a more complex animation. I'm not recreating all of that in 3D, I'm doing it afterwards with Maya Fusion. A lot of times the ad agencies will ask, what software to use? So you tell them Maya and they say, oh, and suddenly you're at a different plateau, and that certainly helps our marketability.
This is the world headquarters of Zaxworks. Zaxworks creates production tools for graphic designers. The Invigorator was developed for film and broadcast designers whose work requires a wide range of text-related graphics. The process starts with the designer laying out the design in Illustrator. The file is simply brought into Maya, and the Invigorator turns it instantly into a 3D model. All the parameters are kept live, so the model can be adjusted, making the model smoother, changing the edge styles, even changing the original input artwork. The openness of Maya is one of its key features. As a developer, we're able to write tools that completely integrate into Maya, so it makes it very seamless. Invigorator feels like it's just another tool on the tool shelf. From a production viewpoint, once the approvals are done for one piece of animation, and say for instance you have to do Monday and Tuesday versions, all you have to do is change out the original input file and the model is rebuilt using all of the same settings. Maya is great. The software is made to grow. It's a core that will continue to grow as Alias Wavefront develops it and as other plugin developers create new tools for it.
I don't think there's really any style that identifies us. We try to find the highest quality projects that we're interested in doing. We become involved in relatively few projects compared to some of the bigger companies. That's the way we like it. I'm an animator. I want to be able to continue to work on shots. We've assembled a really terrific team of about 50 people. Esprit de corps is very high.
Things are just starting to speed up!
The Adventures of Spider-Man is a 70mm stereoscopic ride film. And when it's finished, it will be the absolute most interactive ride film to date. Imagine that you're in a car and you're driving through a virtual set. 3D characters come out and they battle right in front of your eyes. The extensibility of Maya allows us to go deep into the program and actually develop customized character control panels. So we can bring in animators that have little computer animation experience at all, and they can take those puppets and animate them very successfully, very quickly. We're doing a lot of facial animation for this project. Using the deformation tools in Maya, we're able to do that very, very quickly. The workflow of lip syncing is incredibly fast. Doc Ock's tentacles posed a real problem to our technical directors because we needed something that was both rigid and very flexible. We found this great tool in Maya that allowed us to apply a variable to a motion path so that we were able to retain everything that we needed in the tentacle and still be able to make it hold together, still make it telescopic, still make it flexible, and yet not deform the geometry. One of the things that has always been difficult is cloth deformation. One of the beautiful things in Maya is that you can make soft body out of curves, soft bodies out of geometry. You can also make soft bodies out of lattices. In this case, we took a very heavy database for a cape, then we applied a lattice to it, turned the lattice into a soft body so that it flows behind him and has turbulent wind forces that make it flap and flow in the wind. We have very heavy databases, very complex characters, huge scenes and sets with lots of geometry. We have soft body dynamics, we have particles, we have all these things thrown into one mix, and we found that Maya has absolutely just kick-ass performance when it comes to working with characters. We can animate with characters, fully shaded in an environment, and get feedback very, very fast.
We've always had a philosophy that the tools have to be the latest and the most developed, and those are not the tools that have been out on the market for several years. They're the things that are being written right now. Anytime we spend worrying about integrating software packages together, it doesn't wind up on the screen. It just goes out the door, and that's not our business. What Maya represents is getting rid of all that nonsense of getting the tools in front of the animator that he needs to do the best work.
We really like the lifestyle here in Arizona. Ronda Graphics is a small computer animation and effects company. We do a lot of commercial work. We do quite a bit of sports work. We've done everything from opens for the Phoenix Suns, Houston Rockets, Charlotte Hornets, Phoenix Coyotes, all kinds of different folks. We just started with myself and one machine in a tiny little room the size of a closet. The thing about Maya that's really attractive to a small company like ours is that it gives you all the tools you need to do the best work you can do. So you're not limited by the tools. The project with the Diamondbacks came about because they wanted to get a great animation done to show on their Jumbotron in the new ballpark to launch their season.
Maya is incredibly flexible, and there's always many different approaches that you can take. We faced the problem of populating the ballpark before it was finished, and we wanted a lot of people, and we wanted them moving too. The approach that we came up with was to shoot green screen people in the studio and to make those texture maps. The placement of all of those texture maps and all of that geometry was done with a plugin that we wrote. It allowed us to place literally thousands and thousands of moving people in this variety of shots. With Maya, on the new NT hardware, you can do anything. So Spline IK was the perfect solution for animating a snake. You create a spline, attach the skin of the snake to it, and then you can just animate the control points of the spline. It simplifies your job. I don't have to be distracted from doing the creative part. Instead, I can just blast forward. An important thing, I think, is that they're listening to us, to our ideas, and Maya shows that. There's this place in the animation where the snake catches the baseball, and we needed the baseball to stick in his mouth. Before Maya, we would have had the keyframe. It would have been an arduous task, but with Maya, we took two nodes and hooked them together in the dependency graph, and the baseball stuck in his mouth. I did that in seconds, and I never had to worry about it again. It's so important to us that Maya is fast, and that's really important at the end of the day.
After all the hours you put into it, the big payoff is going to see it. In the big outdoor stadium with 50,000 people there, that's pretty darn cool.
Toronto is the third largest production center in North America in both commercial production as well as film work. You can't drive down the street without coming across at least 2 or 3 film shoots. Spin's focus is currently commercial production. We're looking to expand into episodic television as well as feature work. We've had a real interest in upping the ante for our character animation.
Maya was a package which was conceived from the ground up with characters in mind.
Some people in the agency are liking this direction. They look like mice with...
Maya is a great tool for helping us get projects done in a short turnaround because we have clients who want to make changes and want to make decisions as they go.
I'm not quite sure exactly what changes between the two are going to happen. Mostly everyone's bought off on this one.
You're not forced into a linear process. We had people who were working on motion of the characters before the design of the characters was even fully conceived. We can offer the clients the flexibility to change their minds. We can meet short time frames. We can do all the things that big shops can do. But you absolutely need these days an openness and flexibility that a scripting language like Mel gives you.
You can animate to your heart's content and get everything done without using Mel, but you can use it as well, and that can even make your work better and more efficient.
It's the one with that cookie.
Lip sync was great in Maya. We found it extremely fast, especially if someone hadn't really animated Maya before. They could get on and it was very intuitive. Basically the process involves loading in the audio file, and then we have this very simple interface which is used for controlling the different mouth positions. You scrub through the sound, and when you find a position, you just keyframe.
It's the one with that cookie.
There's more than just software as the consideration. It's the support and the relationship you build with the software developer.
I found the level of expertise at Alias was very good. They've all used it. They actually knew the kind of problems that I might be dealing with, and they were able to give very specific practical solutions.
One key factor with Maya, for me as a creative producer, is the look that we get. The shading, rendering is absolutely wonderful. Has a really great filmic value about it, and to me that is prime in selling the product to a client.
Client expectations are such that they want more and more stuff, they want it better, they want it faster, and Maya delivers that.